They find the lab just before dawn. The moment I see the cluster of officials near the alley, I know someone must have talked. A skittish apprentice, a curious merchant who followed me too closely one night. It doesn't matter. What matters is that they will see the horror, and not the desperation. Heresy, not hope. And worse, it can all be tied to me. By the time I reach the house, I'm breathless. Eleni takes one look at me and simply says, "Tell me what to bring." I rip open the floorboards in my study and wrench free the oilskin bundle hidden beneath. My notes, translations, diagrams, the paintings Eleni made for my fever dreams all those years ago. While she is busy gathering her favorite brushes and her mother's ring, I grab my father's bow and my idol of Apollo. And when I do, I can't help but think back to that night, nearly 70 years ago, fleeing with my mother here to Delphi. And now I flee again. I gather the money I've set aside in case of such an emergency and stuff it into a worn satchel. It will be enough to set us up for a while, and afford a translator if needed. We hire a cart from a farmer half awake and barely sober. I pay him double before he can ask questions and promise more at the port. We climb into the cart just as the first alarm bell rings out. Then another. Then another. A flash of red and bronze in the street behind. Roman soldiers bursting from the barracks, shouting orders, blades drawn. One of them points towards the hills. Eleni hisses that they are closing the gates. The driver grunts obliviously, chewing on a reed. The city gate looms ahead. 2 guards straining to haul it inward. A mounted officer shouts something and spurs his horse forward. "Faster," I whisper to the driver, but he only grunts, chewing absently, as if we weren't moments from disaster. Eleni murmurs we are not going to make it. As we near the narrowing gap, the driver lifts a lazy hand and calls out, "Morning, Marius." And to my disbelief, the soldier replies a grunt and waves us through as if we are a cartload of cabbage. The gate groans shut behind us. We don't speak. We don't stop. And we don't look back. Wrapped in cloaks and held still by fear, we ride in silence during the long but uneventful trip to Kira. When the port finally comes into view, the sun is hanging high over the Gulf of Corinth, sails bobbing like petals on gray water. I find a grain ship leaving soon for Rome with space for 2 and no questions. I pay too much, but I don't care. A ship hand approaches, wiping salt from his brow, and asks our names to mark in the ledger. Before I can answer, Eleni speaks, steady and calm. "Dorian and Lysandra," she says without a flicker of hesitation. I glance at her, but she doesn't look back. We stand at the railing together, watching Greece, all that we have ever known, shrink behind us. When we are halfway to open waters, she finally speaks. "What happened?" she asks softly. I take a long breath. I had a lie prepared, one easy to believe. That someone had caught me feeding, that too many have noticed that I haven't aged. People have begun making comments over the years, and the talk has begun to turn to suspicion. But I can't lie. Not to her. I was studying, I say, choosing each word carefully. The body. Death. I kept specimens, preserved remains for dissections, for tests. Her face stills. "No murders," I say quickly. "I promise. No crimes. It was only what I could find or buy. Already dead." A long silence stretches between us. "How did you do this?" "Some of Lycan's old contacts," I admit. "I didn't trust them, but I had no other choice." She turns her gaze to the sea. "And now we run?" "Yes." She says nothing more. just rises quietly and slips below deck, into the small cabin the captain had set aside for us. When she disappears, I make my way to the bow where the captain stands, broad-shouldered and wind-worn, a scar tugging at the corner of his mouth. I clear my throat and ask casually if he would mind showing me the ports we will be calling at. He gives me a squint, then pulls out a salt-cracked chart from beneath his coat. With a thick finger, he traces the line from Kira, all along the Gulf of Corinth and then into the Mediterranean. We have a few stops along the coast before Ostia. Could be weeks, even with favorable winds before Rome. I stare at the large city dominating the center of the map. The center of the world. Rome. A city of 1,000,000 souls and fortunes piled higher than its gleaming columns. A place where ambition is measured and dismissed by men in togas and titles. A city of bureaucracy, ultimate authority, and rejection. I don't need another lecture hall or tribunal. And what I need cannot be found in this city of marble and might. What I need is a miracle. Change of plans. Take us to Alexandria.